você vai ter uma noite muito especial com uma das maiores estrelas do mundo, Harrison Ford. Um homem que arrasta multidões ao cinema. Um astro das maiores bilheterias de todos os tempos e principalmente um grande ator. Harrison Ford criou heróis modernos, sensíveis e surpreendentes. Um homem reservado que optou por uma vida calma numa fazenda distante da agitação de Hollywood e do sucesso que ele cria. Com vocês, o maior herói do cinema contemporâneo, Harrison Ford. Harrison, what attracted you to a script like Patriot Games?
Well, I wanted to do an action film for some time now, but I hadn't been able to find one that I thought had a combination of action and some intelligence. And this, I think, this script offered me that opportunity. And it had attached to it a director, Philip Noyce, whose work I admired. And I had just done I was trying to prepare a project at Paramount, which was an action film, which fell apart just a week or so before I was offered this one. So everything fell into place.
On the research trip on CIA, were there confidential areas that you couldn't find out about or something?
Well, they were willing to give us access to some of their people, so that we could talk to some CIA analysts. They were very generous in showing us through their building. There were few things that they didn't, that they weren't so forthcoming about. Technical things like their satellite viewing systems. But I thought they were very generous and very open to us at the
But how deeply could you go to find out how they work?
Well, I wasn't that interested in finding out about the technical things, because Tom Clancy's book speaks quite a bit about the technical capacities. What I was interested in was texture, character texture. I was interested in how people dressed once they got to their little niche, what their offices looked like, what their desks looked like. That was the sort of thing that I think I was really after.
You as impulsive as Ryan, your character in Patriot Games?
I don't think I'm impulsive. I am instinctive. I do most things out of some combination of instinct and what intelligence I have. But I think when you're talking about Ryan being impulsive, you're talking about him wading into the middle of a terrorist attack on this member of the British royal family. Later on in the film, when he's thinking about that moment and he's being asked by his best friend why he did it, he says that he couldn't just stand there and watch those people get killed in front of him, that it was rage that made him do it. I understand that. I recognize that feeling.
Have you ever felt a tremendous rage like this one?
Probably not, personally. I haven't faced any of the situations that Ryan faces in this movie.
But have you ever felt rage or revenge in your life, in your personal life?
Not revenge. I don't think revenge isn't a feeling that I have. That I felt. I have never felt that I had to revenge some injustice. That I had to have revenge for some injustice. I have felt anger, but not really rage, I don't think.
Are you an emotional person?
I think I'm a combination of rational and emotional. I think because of I think that I'm very much in contact with my emotions. I think I am emotionally motivated and my emotions are easily aroused. And I don't know whether that's a natural predisposition or whether, in fact, the continual emotional exercise that I get as an actor makes me more in touch, keeps me more in touch with my emotions.
What kind of
teenager were you?
A very awkward teenager. I was I think, what they call a late bloomer. I always looked younger than I was. I was shy, defensive. I didn't easily find a place in the school where I went to high school. I didn't have any ambitions when I was a child. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I didn't have any clear path or direction.
But American society teaches people to be a winner. So have you always had this kind of ambition?
I always had a degree of tenacity about those things that I really wanted to achieve. I was able to, and this is something that developed as I became older. I became more tenacious, more focused on ambitions. But until I was leaving college, I still had no ambition for myself. I had no clear idea of what I would do with the ambition, with the education that I had just gained. And when it occurred to me that I might be an actor, then everything started to fall into place. That was something I could focus my ambition on.
Why did you choose to be an actor?
I think it was a combination of things. It was, I knew nothing about being an actor except that I had done 3 or 4 plays in college. And at first, the basic feeling was that I was scared to death. I was very frightened about appearing in front of people. And then I thought, I don't want to feel this way, so all my efforts were directed to conquering the fear. Then when that was a little bit under control, I became intrigued by the storytelling aspect of stage work, of acting. And I enjoyed being somebody else. I enjoyed being another character. And then, as I became more involved in learning techniques of expression, techniques of acting, then it was clear to me that this was a good choice for me. This was an area in which I felt I had some innate talent. But more than that, it was something I could organize my mind around, my combination of instinct and whatever intelligence I had, and whatever emotional resources I had, could all be focused in this one area.
Mm-hmm. What were your expectations? I mean, did you ever think that you would be such a superstar?
No. I thought, I mean, my ambition was to make a living as an actor, not have to do something else to support myself and my family. And I think at first I would have been very happy to have a regular part on a television series. But the more television work I did, the less interested I was in doing television. The more I began to focus on having a movie career. And at a certain point, I stopped doing episodic television because I wanted to focus on getting better parts and not taking every part that came along. And that's when I became a carpenter to have a second source of income so that I could pick and choose from amongst what few roles were being offered to me at that time. But I refused to take a role after I had another source of income. I refused to take a role that wasn't a better part, that had better billing, and for which they were willing to pay me more money. And turning down parts was probably the best thing I ever did, because people began then to sense that I had an ambition for something more than what they were offering me.
I see. And are you as good a carpenter as you are an actor?
I used to be a good carpenter. I've lost the skills. You know, it's like playing the clarinet or any other thing. You just have to keep doing it every day. And after a while, you lose a bit of that tool skill. It'll come back if I have a block of time when I'm doing something.
You still have carpenter hands?
Not anymore. No, I've got.
Not anymore.
No, I've got piano player hands now.
It's a tough business.
Yeah.
How do you protect your sensibilities so as not to be damaged by it?
I don't, you know, I'm in such a lucky position right now that my sensibilities are not in much danger of being damaged. Everyone's very nice to me right now. I get to, you know, I have a very good position in the business. And I don't often feel that people are being hard on me. I think I get it's very easy for me now.
But
almost too easy.
But have you ever felt like a loser?
Oh, I don't know if I felt like a loser. I was always angry when I was accused of being a loser. People used to tell me, for instance, the first time I did a film, I played a bellboy and delivered a telegram to James Coburn. And I was summoned to the office of the vice president of Columbia Pictures, who was in charge of the new talent program, the people who were under contract to the studio at that time. And he said, kid, he always called me kid. He said, I've seen the dailies on what you did yesterday. He said, you're not going to make it. You might as well just figure out what you're going to do with your life, because you're not going to make it. He said, let me tell you a story. The first time Tony Curtis was ever in a movie, he delivered a bag of groceries. A bag of groceries. This guy said, you took one look at that guy and you knew that was a movie star. And I leaned across the desk and I said, well, I thought you were supposed to think that that was a grocery delivery boy. And he threw me out of his office, and we did not have a happy relationship after that.
How do you deal with those bad moments? I mean, failure, frustrations.
Well, mostly in my life, I have outlived them, you know. Mm-hmm. I have just gone on and not so much worried about it. You know, it's just, you just have to have the strength and belief that whatever it is that you think is the right way of thinking. I don't mean that you shouldn't listen to other people and take advice from other people, but on a final level, you've got to have confidence in your own mind.
Inside of yourself, did you ever feel any rejection?
Oh, frequently, often, yeah. Sure.
How do you react?
You know, it depends on how vulnerable you feel at the time. And I don't feel so vulnerable anymore. But when I was younger, when I first started, and we're talking about 20 years ago, it was very hurtful.
So have you ever thought of giving up?
No, I never did. That was the one thing I knew about acting when I came to Hollywood, was that a lot of people who were in the same entering class as I were going to give up. I saw them begin to fall by the wayside after a short period of time. And I thought that almost anybody, I thought that almost anybody could have a career if you stuck it out long enough. Mm-hmm. If you tried long enough and hard enough, that something would come your way.
Yeah. When you were shooting, do you have any kind of anxiety?
No, not really, no. I enjoy the process of shooting. I enjoy I enjoy working on the puzzle of what to do and how to do it. And I enjoy working with a group of people.
I can see you're very hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Not really?
Not so hard.
Do you have any personal struggle?
No, I don't think I do. I think, you know, I try to do the best work I can. I have a very realistic attitude towards my work, I believe. I know that that you do not achieve perfection in your work, in this line of work, very often. That you settle for the best you can do under the circumstances at any given point in time. So it's not a great pleasure for me to sit and watch my work when it's all done. I'm very happy to watch dailies and say, this is better than that, let's use that one. But when the whole thing is done and all the work is over, it doesn't hurt me to watch it, but I don't get any real pleasure out of it because the process is over. It's the process that I enjoy.
And, well, you've reached the top now, and is there still something that you really want?
No. No, I never had any real ambition to play a particular kind of part or play, or an idea of exactly how well I wanted to do in any context. I simply enjoy, what I like best about my situation now is that I can work when I want to work. I can pretty much do the kind of thing that I want to do. I have the opportunity, happily, to work with some of the best people in the business, and that has been a lot of, and that has had a lot to do with what success I've had, is working with really good people. And so I'm quite satisfied with my situation right now.
But are you still a dreamer?
I don't know if I ever was a dreamer. I'm a doer, not a dreamer.
Well, you built a very modern hero, you know. He seems to be surprised. He seems to have fears, like all of us. What are your fears in life?
Oh, gee, I don't know. I think when you have a family, when you have children, the most horrible thing that can happen is that something might happen to one of your children, and that forms. That is the only thing that I really fear, not being able to protect my children.
That's why you did so well this character, Ryan, in the Patriot Games.
It is a feature of this film.
You are so independent of Hollywood life. Why do you live in a ranch?
Well, you have only to look out the window at our environment here in any big city to know why one might choose not to live in a big city. It's noisy and it's dirty and it is dispiriting, and I take great comfort in the outdoors and quiet and some degree of solitude. I just enjoy being in the country, and we should remember that this is not a place called Hollywood. This is Los Angeles. This is a big city. I'm not running away from Hollywood. I don't look down my nose at Hollywood, but I just work here. This is where I work.
And how is your daily routine when you are in your ranch and farm?
We get up when our kids get up, which is usually very early, 6:30. Have breakfast. Think about what the day is that's coming. We always have a lot of activity around our house, or we have had for the last 3 or 4 years, because we've been building things. and I'm involved in supervising those and working on details and design, things like that. So that occupies a good part of my day. I like to play tennis every day if I can. I like to ride my horse. I like to do a bit of work, a bit of reading. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty banal existence.
No, I think it's interesting. It's restful. Everybody says that you are shy. Are you shy?
No.
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 Not at all.
I may be guarded, you know?
Reserved.
Reserved, but not shy.
How do you deal with sex scenes, for instance? Would you accept doing more daring sex scenes in your films, or you have?
I don't. I think the sex scene in Presumed Innocent is, you know, as daring as any sex scenes are. I don't have any problem with love scenes or sex scenes, because any more problem than any other kind of scene. I don't feel that they're really that much more intimate than any other kind of scene. I always, when I think about a scene, I think about what the point of it is, what the story is that we're trying to tell in that little scene. And so I try and give as great a definition and a specificity to the events, so that they will help tell the story as well as possible. So as long as there's reference to story, I'm not embarrassed by anything I have to do.
You were very sensitive, you are a great actor, and you were also considered a sex symbol. Does it bother you?
I changed it.
Okay, good. Oh, just in the right. So you were a very sensitive person, a great actor. Yes, you are. But you are also considered a sex symbol. Does it bother you?
I don't think about it. I mean, I don't think of myself as a sex symbol. I don't. I have an acting career which is important to me. Sex symbol is something that sells weekly magazines. It has nothing to do with me.
Just a label.
It's a label that you know, the tabloid magazines are always coming up with lists and labels. The 10 sexiest men in Hollywood, which I've never been on. The 100 most beautiful people in the world, which I've never been on. That kind of stuff. You know, they have to come up with a new list every week. And sex symbol falls into that sort of area. It has absolutely no bearing or interest to me.
I see, but anyway, you were a very seductive person. Do women fall in love with you all the time?
Not that I know of. I don't know. I don't. I think, you know, I live a very quiet, sheltered life. I don't put out signals that I'm anxious to meet and engage women on that level. Yeah. So it doesn't. It's not as if people are throwing themselves. Women are throwing themselves at my feet in the streets.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
Hard to believe. Most of your characters have a wild life, and you seem to be a very stable person. Mm-hmm. Do you think you put all your wildness in your movies?
Yeah, I'm able to. It's like playing like a child plays. I mean, I said once that I was from the let's pretend school of acting, and what I meant was, let's dress up and let's pretend that we're cowboys and Indians, or good guys and bad guys of some kind. my work is, there's a very serious attitude that I have about my work, but I also enjoy it on the level of it's being play. And I get to do things in my movies that I cannot imagine, and happily so can't imagine happening in my real life. And that's fun. It's fun to explore other lives and to have experiences that you that are not safe to have in reality.
You work so hard in your movies. People have lots of fun with them, but you work so hard. Well, can you have some fun doing shooting?
And also people in movies in general work very, very hard, as you know.
You especially.
No, I don't think so. I think that a whole movie crew works really hard, and directors work so much harder than actors. I mean, it is so much more tiring, so much more engaging in your metal life. You have so many more problems to deal with. Mm-hmm. Being an actor is not a really tough job. It's better than a real job, you know. It's yes, you should work as hard as you can. Mm-hmm. You should focus your energies and concentrate on the task at hand as much as possible. But it's also, you know, wherever there's tension, there's the release of tension. And people do, I have a good time. I like to joke and laugh and have a good time when I'm working.
Would you agree to do Indiana Jones one more time?
I don't think so. I think we did Indiana Jones well, and we did it enough. And now is the time for all of us to go on to something else.
Why didn't you agree to do JFK?
Well, I'm always surprised that apparently Oliver Stone has spoken about talking to me about the film, because I have never spoken about it. I don't want to criticize Oliver Stone's film or the efforts of anybody involved in it. I just did not think that the argument that he made for the theory that he holds and that the film proposes was strong enough evidence. And I think that that kind of question should be settled in an atmosphere of debate. Should not be a polemic that's released as an entertainment, because I was afraid that the children of this generation, people who weren't around when Kennedy was assassinated, people who had no other knowledge of the events surrounding his assassination, would simply take this expression, this argument, as the whole cloth truth, and because of the power of film, the dramatic potential of creating an argument on film, I thought it was a subject that should be explored more dispassionately.
Do you believe that a film can change people's point of view?
Well, having said what I just said, I am glad that one of the results of the film is that people are now interested in finding out again what really happened. Mm-hmm. But I didn't feel comfortable enough to do it.
Do you think an actor, do you feel comfortable, do you think an actor shouldn't show his political position?
I personally don't do that, because I don't think that I have any more responsibility than any other citizen to discharge my political duties. I don't like the fact that people may do something that a celebrity says because they admire that person's look or they have had a laugh or two with that person in the movies. I think it's a very dangerous situation. I think there's an obsession with celebrity in this country, in other countries, that really is about power, and it's about success. And people are so interested in people who are successful and powerful, simply because they don't have that success and that power in their own lives. And what other people do to achieve that success and power is not helpful, is not as helpful as people think in taking control over their own lives. You have to do with your equipment, with your gifts, the best that you can do. You should not be looking to other people who are celebrities or who are successful for the answers in your own life. And I think that's what happens.
It's one of my favorite movies. Is it yours?
No.
Why not?
Well, I was very upset about having to record the voiceover narration, which the director, Ridley Scott, and I had agreed we would make a film. But I said, I don't want this to have a voiceover narration, which it had originally had. So we took off the voiceover narration. Then when the film was nearing completion, Ridley Scott had gone over budget, and he was removed from his position of control of the film, and the completion bond company took over, and they were the ones who caused the narration to be written, and they were the ones who contractually obliged me to read the narration. And the one that appears in the film was one of about 6 different narrations that I did for the film, none of which I felt helped the film or were successful in any way. So it was really an agonizing experience for me to see the film.
It's funny because the result is wonderful.
Well, I believe that Ridley is preparing a version now, which will be redistributed, which will be called the director's cut, and which will not have the voiceover narration.
Yeah, but he already did.
Well, there was a version released which was called the director's version. It's my understanding that that was not, in fact, Ridley's version.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that either.
Okay. And what is the best thing about being a movie star, about being a superstar? You said that you have a normal life. Can you go to the movies? Can you go to a store?
Yeah, I can go to a store and I can go to movies. I have to understand that if I do go to a store or I do go to a movie, that I have to be prepared to deal with the consequences. I have to be either willing to sign autographs and say hello to people, or I have to be willing to be rude and run away.
Do you like this part of the celebrities?
Not very much, although people are inevitably very nice to me, and those contacts with the people who are basically customers, you know, are very warm and gracious. I nonetheless would prefer to go through life, you know, if you go to the hardware store to buy some screws, you want to be thinking about screws. You don't want to be thinking about the movies. And it always seems to get switched around to some...
You would like to be invisible.
I would love to be invisible. But you started to ask me what the best part of being a movie star is. At least half of the good part of being a movie star is that you get to be an actor as well. So that's the part I enjoy the most. The movie star part enables me to have a great deal of control over my career. It makes a great deal of difference in the freedom of choice that I have.
And what is the worst part of your job?
Well, notwithstanding that this has been extremely pleasant, this particular interview has been very pleasant. The very worst part of my job is promoting films.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is an exception.
This is, of course, an exception.
So I think you are very full. You know, you don't need anything else, do you?
Nothing that I can, you know, pin my fingers on. What I need is to preserve and maintain the opportunity to do the kind of work that I most enjoy doing. And right now, it seems, for the moment at least, that I have a degree of security there.
Thank you very much for
Pleasure.
your interview, your good answers.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, you make it easy. You're very good about it. You also, you do what most interviewers don't do. You listen to the answers.